NBC News World Headquarters in New York. This is NBC Nightly News with Kate Snow.
Good evening. Hopefully you remembered to spring forward today and reset your clocks, but spring is a distant promise for much of the U.S. tonight. Snow coated parts of the Carolinas this morning, and there is more coming tonight. Almost 100 million people are under winter weather watches or warnings. Flakes falling right now in Minneapolis, as you can see in this live picture. Chicago ready for a messy commute in the morning. The East Coast and New England bracing for the biggest snowstorm of the season. We begin tonight with Sarah Doloff.
With just over a week to the start of spring, winter refuses to release its icy grip on much of the U.S.
Oh my God, it's actually snowing, like it's real snow. It's sticking to the ground.
This morning, residents in North, even South Carolina, waking up to falling snow and several inches already on the ground.
It's so exciting.
A winter wonderland for some, treacherous conditions for others. On the shores of Lake Ontario, a winter scene so surreal, the photographer had to post it was created by nature, not Photoshop. And in North Dakota, braving the elements to prepare for another round of severe weather, including forecasted temperatures with wind chills of 9 below. Snow is expected across a wide swath of the Midwest tonight, with winter weather advisories and storm warnings stretching from the Dakotas to Northwest Ohio, continuing on into the Northeast from Virginia to Maine, with blizzard conditions possible in New York and Boston during the work week. As plows roll out, officials are expecting slick roads and power outages. Commutes are expected to be affected in major cities as well as air travel. Some airlines waiving change fees in advance of the weather, working to get ahead of a storm system with millions in its path. Sarah Doloff, NBC News.
For more on the storm making its way toward the Northeast, we turn to NBC meteorologist Indra Peterson. Indra?
Kate, right now we continue to see that heavy snowfall right around the Minnesota area. So Minneapolis seeing that heavy snowfall. As we continue through the overnight hours in through tomorrow morning, we'll see this system move in through the Chicago area. They were calling for about 3 to 6 inches of snowfall. In fact, this will be your first heavy snowfall of the entire year. Then as we go through the evening hours of tomorrow, this is where we really start to see the action here. We'll see some flurries around the D.C. area. But as we go through the overnight hours, that's where the system really intensifies. So now D.C., New York City, as we go through the morning commute, here comes that heavy snowfall. Late morning commute in through the Boston region. This snow will continue to fall throughout the entire day. Even some leftover showers possible for you on Wednesday. So heavy amounts of snowfall, very strong winds could bring that visibility down near zero. So blizzard watches are currently already in effect, especially out towards New York City, as well as Boston, coastal sections of Connecticut, Rhode Island, even out towards Massachusetts. Keep in mind, we still have a lot of uncertainty. It's where this low develops that could bring heavy amounts of snowfall. Whether it shifts a few miles one direction or the other changes everything. But here's what we have for you. We've combined several of the models. This is what we're calling for currently. D.C. calling for 6 to 8 inches. We could see more. We could see less. We're going to see how this develops. Philadelphia now calling for 8 to 14 inches of snowfall. New York City definitely upwards of a foot. Boston 10 to 16 inches of snowfall is possible. We're going to be monitoring this very carefully through the overnight hours. Kate?
Ooh, we get the boots out again. Indra, thanks. Now to health care. As the debate intensifies in Congress and beyond, a top Trump administration official said today that nobody will be worse off financially, as he put it, under the Republican health care plan. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell has more tonight on the battle over the bill.
I'm really worried about
today in Philadelphia, anxiety over looming changes to the health care law at a town hall meeting held by Democratic Senator Bob Casey.
I'm very concerned about the ACA problems, the Medicaid issues.
And others this weekend, held by congressional Republicans.
I would like a full 100% repeal. 100%.
Unwinding Obamacare, a top priority for all of Washington's Republican leaders. President Trump's comment last month sounded both ironic and predictive.
Nobody knew that health care could be so complicated.
House Speaker Paul Ryan says Republicans have been formulating their health insurance alternative over the past year.
We're actually on the cusp of keeping our word. I hardly think that is rushing things.
The GOP leader's timeline, repealing Obamacare in the next 29 days. The House expected to vote the week of March 20th and the Senate by April 10th. While fierce opposition from Democrats was expected.
What the American people want is an improvement on Obamacare, not the decimation of Obamacare.
The real roadblock has come from within the Republican Party.
And I don't want to see the House majority put at risk on a bill that is not going to pass the Senate.
I think it's basically Obamacare light. Keeps the subsidies, keeps the taxes for a year, then keeps the Cadillac tax forever, the tax on good insurance.
Trump's Secretary for Health and Human Services, Tom Price, says the proposal won't cost consumers more.
I firmly believe that nobody will be worse off financially in the process that we're going through.
This coming week, President Trump is expected to hit the road for a rally in Nashville that is categorized as a campaign event, not official White House business. But the president is expected to try to sell the GOP plan with much of his own political capital on the line. Kate?
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House tonight. Kelly, thank you. It was a flashpoint that sparked nationwide protests and soul-searching over relations between police and communities. We're talking about the police shooting of Michael Brown, an unarmed man in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014. Tonight, there's a new turn in that case, and we hear about it from NBC's Morgan Radford.
Tonight, newly disclosed surveillance video, raising questions about what happened the night before 18-year-old Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, Missouri. For 2 years, local police have said he robbed a convenience store before police responded, and he was shot.
Police shot this man for no reason.
Police released this surveillance at the time as evidence. But tonight, a new documentary called Stranger Fruit reveals more surveillance video from that same store. The filmmaker says it shows that Brown knew the clerks and didn't rob them, but instead traded them marijuana for cigarillos.
Mike gives the store a little bag of weed. You can see the employees smelling it and passing it around. Then you can clearly see Mike being given 2 big boxes of cigarillos. Mike is about to leave the store, but decides to have the clerk hold his things behind the counter for him.
The next day, Brown comes back with his hands behind his back. The filmmaker says to get his boxes. NBC cannot confirm this exchange, and the store clerks deny it. In a statement about the video, the St. Louis County Police Department says, "We cannot confirm its authenticity at this time. If it did occur, the incident is still irrelevant to our investigation."
What do you think this video shows us?
I think this video shows us that we were not told the whole story then. People have a right to feel frustrated, and I think this will make them feel even more frustrated.
In 2014, a grand jury did not indict Officer Darren Wilson, the responding officer who shot Michael Brown, sparking outrage across the country.
Don't shoot, hands up.
In some cases, that frustration still lingers in Ferguson.
I think Mike Brown has just opened up a lot of eyes, woke a lot of people up.
I do believe that people see that we are tired. They see that we are not playing, and they see that we really do want change.
When we talk about the national conversation about race, what role does Mike Brown's killing have in that conversation?
Black boys and men die like this across America every single day, at the hands of police, at the hands of criminals in the community. And I think there is this overflowing pain that we have yet to resolve. And I think that's what makes this case so weighty.
A lawyer for the convenience store tells NBC News he's not sure why this latest video wasn't released by authorities sooner, but that the store clerks are in no way at fault. Meanwhile, the Brown family is currently in the middle of a civil lawsuit against the city of Ferguson, and there's still no indication whether this new video will be entered as evidence, Kate.
Morgan, thank you so much. Federal officials say they are opening an investigation into a hoverboard explosion and fire that killed a 3-year-old girl in Pennsylvania. It was the first fatality from a fire of this kind, a tragedy that's bringing new scrutiny tonight on the lithium-ion batteries that power a range of electronic devices. We get more from NBC's Steve Patterson.
How many people we still got trapped?
Terrifying moments in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania Friday night.
Oh my God!
Crews rushing in, flames shooting out of the roof, family members frantic.
We're getting rapid calls and reports of kids trapped on the 3rd floor.
Inside, 3-year-old Ashanti Hughes severely burned. She later died. 2 others critically injured. The fire caused by a battery in a rechargeable hoverboard, but it's not just hoverboards. Lithium-ion batteries can fail and burst into flames, like the ones in the recalled Samsung Galaxy Note 7. And laptops, like the one found inside a Dell that exploded while charging next to 17-year-old Devin Johnson in February. The company says that battery was from a third party.
It was just really scary when it exploded on me.
The batteries in hoverboards so dangerous that the Consumer Product Safety Commission warned none of them are safe. More than 500,000 recalled.
If you own a hoverboard, please stop using it immediately.
It's on fire!
Since 2015, there have been more than 100 incidents, thousands of injuries, and millions of dollars in damages. Experts say if you do have one, don't take any chances.
I would not leave them charging in a home unattended, and I probably wouldn't even store this device in your house.
Tonight, officials with the CPSC say they are launching an investigation into what happened Friday. A safety nightmare still sparking heartache years after the danger discovered. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
In Europe and beyond, there's a lot of interest in this week's parliamentary elections in the Netherlands. That's because the populist right-wing anti-immigrant candidate is gaining traction. We get more tonight from NBC's Matt Bradley.
Geert Wilders has been called the Donald Trump of the Netherlands.
There is a lot of Moroccans come in Holland who makes the streets unsafe.
He's also been called racist against Muslim immigrants.
He's portraying a picture like we all bad, we all trying to go to Syria and to do the jihad and things like that. But that's not a realistic view of life.
Polls say he's unlikely to win Wednesday's vote, but thanks to his massive following, he's already pulled this famously tolerant left-wing country to the right. Centrist Prime Minister Mark Rutte is sounding populist notes, taking out newspaper ads saying act normal or leave, and on TV, less polite.
My primary feeling is piss off, go back to Turkey.
He denies copying Wilders. Are you playing towards populist sentiment, anti-immigrant sentiment?
No, I'm fighting on my own agenda.
Sandra Lammers is a newly right-wing voter.
You feel intimidated by these groups of Moroccans.
She's not convinced by the change in tone from the current prime minister and presumed winner.
I don't think it's authentic. He's waving, he's swimming with the waves of Geert Wilders.
It's not just here in the Netherlands. Politicians across Europe are tacking right, bracing against a rising populist tide.
The Conservatives of Theresa May in England, for instance, or you can see it on the Conservative side in France as well, that parties are somewhat moving to the radical right.
A fresh phenomenon shaking up politics on both sides of the Atlantic.
People think that this type of chaos will not happen to the Netherlands because Geert Wilders is somewhat down in the polls. But I'm warning people, it could still happen.
After all, such populists have been known to surprise before. Matt Bradley, NBC News, the Netherlands.
It is the leading cause of death for infants between 1 month and 1 year old in this country. Sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS. Roughly 1,600 babies die from it every year. But a big effort to educate new parents has helped put SIDS in steady decline. And part of it involves some thinking inside the box. NBC's Ron Mott explains.
Hi, Ryan. Can you say hi?
For the Stemperts, parents of 3-month-old twins, Ryan and Nell, new discoveries are a daily, if not hourly, routine. And they've just learned one more, what they believe is a safer way to put their babies to sleep, in a cardboard box.
There you go.
I think for me, being a new mom, it's a very steep learning curve, especially with twins. And these boxes are awesome because you don't have to think about it. You know, it's a safe space. They're very portable.
It's a simple solution to reduce cases of sudden infant death syndrome, borrowed from an effective tradition in Finland, where the infant mortality rate is less than half the rate in the U.S. Box, pad, baby on their back, nothing else, parents.
Actually, this looks actually sort of comfortable on the floor.
Being that SIDS and other sleep-related deaths is the #1 cause of post-neonatal mortality, as a pediatrician, I would say absolutely it's good that they learn this information right from the start.
In the U.S., SIDS deaths have fallen sharply since 1990, from 130 per 100,000 live births to 39 in 2015. And the Baby Box company is trying to drive the number even lower, offering boxes and supplies for free around the country, here in Ohio, with some of the highest infant mortality rates.
We haven't gotten a crib yet, to be honest, and this was a complete lifesaver.
The company recommends boxes until babies can pull themselves up, usually around 6 months. The Baby Box reached this couple too late.
Losing our daughter has really impacted me.
In 2009, Nate and Shantia Williams lost their 3-month-old daughter, Aaliyah, to SIDS.
She was on her side because that was okay back then. She had a pacifier. That was also one of the things that they said would reduce SIDS. But she had baby bumpers, she had blankets, she had stuffed animals in there.
Out of tragedy, treasures. 3-year-old Logan, 6-month-old Bryce.
So it's gotten easier. It has.
boxing up bundles of joy.
Guys having fun in your boxes?
To keep an unimaginable pain away. Ron Mott, NBC News, Cleveland.
South Korea's ousted President Park Geun-hye finally left the executive mansion today, 2 days after a constitutional court expelled her from office over allegations of corruption and cronyism. Crowds of supporters greeted her motorcade outside her private residence in Seoul. The next presidential election there is in 2 months. South Korea's political direction is uncertain. In this country, former Vice President Joe Biden drew a big crowd today, appearing at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. The conference focuses on innovation, and Biden spoke about a cause he continues to champion, what he calls a cancer moonshot. NBC's Jolene Kent is there and has our report.
Joe Biden is back, the former vice president taking the stage for his first major address since leaving the White House.
I had one regret in making the decision not to run. And that was, I would have loved to have been the president who presided over the end of cancer as we know it.
Biden, along with his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, announcing the next step in their pursuit to find a cure for cancer at South by Southwest, a Texas tech, music, and film festival. The fight for a cure is deeply personal for Biden. He lost his son and former Delaware Attorney General Beau Biden to brain cancer in 2015.
The passion Jill and I bring to this effort is driven by a desire to spare other families what our family and so many other families have gone through.
Biden's Cancer Moonshot Project was established at the White House last year. The mission: accelerate cancer prevention, diagnosis, and treatment, ultimately finding a cure. But politics still on Biden's radar as he issued a barb at President Trump.
Notwithstanding the fact someone in a new outfit don't think there's global warming or bad things happen, there's not a lot of good stuff out there in some places. I shouldn't have said it that way.
As for the Republicans' efforts to repeal Obamacare,
what do you think of that new health care bill, Mr. Vice President?
Not a lot.
But ultimately, Biden pledges to work with President Trump, saying cancer rises above any political divide.
The only bipartisan thing left in America is the fight against cancer.
A fight he intends to take all the way. Jolene Kent, NBC News, Austin, Texas.
Finally tonight, a different twist on public radio from one small town in Iowa when folks in Murray, population 742 at last count, decided that they wanted to get their news out to a broader audience. There was only one thing to do. Harry Smith tonight on the little radio station that could.
Joe Henick is a dreamer. He imagines things, then makes them happen.
You're listening to 91.9 KSOI Murray.
Like the radio station in his living room.
When you started having conversations with people, hey, I think maybe we need a radio station in Murray, what was the initial reaction?
A lot of scratching heads. People did not understand who I was and where this was coming from.
But for 4 years now, 24/7, South Central Iowa has KSOI. You get the announcements from the Murray, Iowa school.
Welcome to the Mustang Corral.
Weather from Grandma Perry.
I'm Grandma Perry with the National Weather Service forecast.
And disc jockeys with a style all their own.
Happy Friday, amigos! That's right, it's Friday night!
We just pray that they use their church manners when they were talking. We couldn't afford the profanity button when we did the grant.
Joe, who has a full-time job, wrote the grant to get the license and the money for the tower. And everyone who's on the air is a volunteer. Retired physician Jim Kimball offers homespun advice.
Just remember, hug your wife, love your kids, have a great day.
It's made him a star.
I can't go in the grocery store without somebody saying, I know that voice. Aren't you on the radio?
In the summertime, the station broadcasts concerts from the porch of Joe's house. Joe's real dream was maybe the radio station would be the glue to hold the folks around here together.
And our goal was to reach out to as many of these small southern Iowa towns, pool our events, pool our culture, to make it an interesting place to live.
KSOI, a dream coming true. Harry Smith, NBC News, Murray, Iowa.
Grandma Perry with the weather. That is NBC Nightly News for this Sunday. Lester Holt will be in tomorrow. I'm Kate Snow reporting from New York, and I'll see you tomorrow on MSNBC. For all of us here at NBC News, have a great night.